Welcome to Giant Ability TV.
Charles Dickson opines that a thing constructed can only be loved after it is constructed, but a thing created is loved before it exists. The journey of nationhood that began 65 years ago, after Nigeria gained her independence in 1960, has had different leaders from different parts of the country in the saddle as drivers. Each one of them had in mind a destination to take the country to.
I take this opportunity to elaborate on one particular point raised by Colonel Ojukwu. It is highly commendable that he had ordered a truce for 8 days. I feel that General Gowon should be prevailed upon to extend the 2 days of truce which he had ordered to enable the truce to be more permanent and make it possible for peaceful negotiations to prevail.
However, the individual differences in the leaders with regard to their visions for the country have to a large extent determined where the country is at today, even though progress is being very slow and new realities call for a mindset change and the recalibration of how to proceed. Most of the leaders that have ruled the country Nigeria were driven by ambition more than vision, and that accounted for why all efforts were geared towards construction and not the reconstruction of the country,
and lacked the desired profundity that can only be made possible by creativity.
Most of them did see what others saw, but failed to think out of the box, for the simple fact that thinking out of box would need an uncommon audacity that embraces the truth, which supports the belief that there can be no reconstruction without destruction. The faulty foundation that was laid for the country with the coming of the military through a coup in 1966 has to a large extent affected the structure of the country, with ethnicity, tribal and religious affiliations taking the front seat and driving the wheels of the country's progress backward. With this understanding in mind, it is crystal clear why a leader will need more than the courage of removing the oil subsidy on day one and the floating of the naira with all the attendant sufferings unleashed on Nigerians to make a mark in advancing the potential and fortune of the country called Nigeria. The history of Nigeria aptly fits in for description as that of a decline from gold to iron and to rusting. Nigerian leaders and Nigerians know exactly where the country is at, why it is where it needs to be and how to get there, but are constrained by personal fondness which has overtaken practical judgment. The problems confronting us as a people, which we need also to confront head-on, are encapsulated in this wise saying. We say we want a renewal of character in our day, but we don't really know what we ask for. To have a renewal of character is to have a renewal of a cradle order that constrains, limits, binds, obligates, and compels. This price is too high for us to pay. We want character, but without unyielding conviction. We want strong morality, but without the emotional burden of guilt or shame. We want virtue, but without particular moral justifications that invariably offend. We want good without having to name evil. We want decency without the authority to insist upon it. We want more community without any limitations to personal freedom. In short, we want what we cannot possibly have on the terms that we want it. James Davison Hunter.
Personally, for me, it's not about unseating the president. It's not about that. It's about bringing, a better Nigeria. Our objective is to create a better nation. And because the leadership as it is now is not creating that better nation in the views that we have, then we will now come together and see that we change the leadership, the regime, and then create a regime that will achieve the noble goals that we have in mind.
The ostensible reason why the Northerners are opposed to Bola Ahmed Tinubu's second-term aspiration is marginalization of the North, whereas the actual reason for their obstructionist stance against him is the discovery of how passionate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is about the realization of a new Nigeria, which, if vigorously pursued, will extricate the vantage position of the Northerners in the politics and leadership of the country, Nigeria. This belief is what the Northerners strongly hold on to and need no conviction about. The obvious regarding the execution of a new Nigeria agenda includes the aggressive construction of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and the rhetorics around the construction of the Badagry-Sokoto Coastal Highway, the establishment of the National Development Commissions in all the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, which is to foreshadow the restructuring of the country, the ongoing discussions on the establishment of state police in all parts of the country are just a few of the concerted efforts being made towards the realization of a new Nigeria. The Northerners are without gainsaying the fact, privy to this development and understand very well what their implications would mean to them. The race towards the 2027 elections will definitely be a difficult one, and with the likelihood of sponsored violence and heightened insecurity, the people of the Southeast are not left out in their clamor to get the topmost position of leadership. However, their quest for power is rooted in their complaint about being marginalized, but take solace in the possibility and probability of getting elevated should the reconstruction of a new Nigeria be realized. Less tension on their part, you may wish to say, with more hope as they are a part and parcel of the ploy of the Tinubu administration to relegate the Northerners to the background. The problems in the North have over the years and decades been piling up with no meaningful interventions from those who should have been more concerned and responsible for doing the needful by mitigating against what constitutes a clog in the wheels of progress of the North and the Northerners.
President Tinubu has tasks that are daunting before him to accomplish, but the hurdle to cross and a dilemma is a choice between confronting the challenges of the birth of a new Nigeria head-on and skirting around the problems for the purpose of partaking from the largest of the country continually.
Most of us who are the leaders in northern Nigeria, I think we should be open enough to take the blame, because there was silence. Where was our voices? Nobody was speaking in the last 10 years. Nobody was speaking in the last 15 years. Nobody was talking in the last 20 years. And we were sitting watching. The developmental indices in northern Nigeria, both the northwest, the northeast, and the north central, have deteriorated completely in the last 20 years to date. If we don't take very serious action, we might not have a region called the northern Nigeria. So we have to be careful. And we should stop blaming President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State has challenged the northern elites by situating the problems of underdevelopment and their causes at their doorstep. Using pejorative words, he asked the northern elites to look at their faces in the mirror and accept responsibility for failing their people woefully, and a situation that would take decades to repair and correct, to make the North cease from being a laughingstock and a major hindrance to the corporate advancement of the country, Nigeria. It should bear in mind that delay is dangerous and tactics is a bunch of ploys, and there is an end. The soul of Nigeria is in dire need of being rescued, and the reason why most leaders that we have had in Nigeria since independence to date have chosen to play it safe in matters relating to the need for audacious and bold steps that would have birthed a new Nigeria can be summarized as ineptitude and the lack of genuine patriotism. This also accounts for why few great men have remained after their death what they have been during their lives. The opportunity to leave behind a legacy that would keep speaking after death is hereby presented to President Tinubu on a platter of gold, and all he needs to do is to choose the good and refuse the evil. For according to Jim Elliot, it is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain that which he cannot lose. God bless Nigeria.